Chosen one. What if the most important person you've ever helped is someone you don't even remember helping? And what if, at this very moment, that person still remembers you? Not because of your name, not because of your status, not because of your achievements, but because of a single act of kindness that happened when nobody was paying attention. Think about that for a moment. Out of all the people you've met in your life, all the conversations you've had, all the strangers you've passed by, what if one of them never forgot you? What if one ordinary moment became unforgettable for someone extraordinarily powerful? And what if the reason your life hasn't unfolded the way you expected is because something has been happening behind the scenes that you know nothing about? Stay with me, chosen one, because what you're about to hear isn't a story about luck. It's a story about character. It's a story about unseen rewards, and it's a story about why some acts of kindness create consequences that echo far beyond the moment they happen. But before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return? Not because you wanted recognition, not because you wanted praise, not because you hoped for a reward, but simply because it felt like the right thing to do. If you have, then you already understand something most people never learn. You see, the world teaches people to value what is visible. Visible success. Visible wealth. Visible influence. But the most powerful things in life often begin where nobody is looking. And that's exactly where this story begins. It began on a day that seemed completely ordinary, a day that looked no different from any other. No warning, no sign, no indication that a life-changing encounter was only moments away. The chosen one was focused on daily responsibilities, carrying burdens nobody else could see. Like many people, there were unanswered questions, unfulfilled dreams, silent frustrations, private battles, the kind of struggles that make you wonder whether your efforts even matter, the kind that make you question whether anyone notices how hard you're trying, and perhaps you've felt that way too. Perhaps you've done the right thing again and again without seeing results. Perhaps you've shown kindness and received indifference. Perhaps you've given your best and wondered if it made any difference at all. If that's true, listen carefully, because what happened next may answer a question you've been carrying for a long time. The chosen one was walking through an ordinary part of the city when something unusual caught their attention. Not dramatic, not extraordinary, just enough to make them pause. Most people would have kept walking. Most people would have looked away. Most people would have convinced themselves that someone else would handle it. But something inside the chosen one said, "Stop." And that single decision changed everything. At first glance, the stranger appeared completely unremarkable. No expensive clothing, no security team, no luxury vehicle waiting nearby. Nothing that suggested wealth, nothing that suggested power, nothing that suggested influence. In fact, if you had seen him that day, you probably would have forgotten him within hours. Which raises an interesting question. Why do we assume we know someone's value simply by looking at them? Why do so many people judge importance by appearances? And how many opportunities have been missed because someone failed to recognize the value hidden beneath an ordinary exterior? The chosen one didn't know it yet, but this stranger was about to reveal something extraordinary. Not through words, not through status, but through what happened next. The stranger seemed tired, almost exhausted, as if carrying a burden much heavier than anyone around him realized. For a brief moment their eyes met, and in that moment, the chosen one noticed something most people missed: a quiet sadness, a hidden weight, a look that suggested this person was fighting a battle nobody could see. Now, let me ask you another question. Have you ever looked at someone and sensed they were carrying more pain than they showed? Many people ignore those feelings, but sometimes intuition notices things logic cannot explain. The chosen one felt compelled to help, not because there was something to gain, not because anyone was watching, but because compassion spoke louder than convenience. A simple conversation began. Nothing remarkable, nothing dramatic. At least that's how it appeared. Yet years later, that conversation would be remembered as the moment everything started. The stranger listened, carefully, far more carefully than expected. almost as if he wasn't just hearing words, almost as if he was studying character, the key. Way the chosen one spoke, the way they treated someone with no apparent value, the way they showed respect without knowing who stood before them, and while the chosen one thought they were helping a stranger, the stranger was quietly learning something about them, something powerful, something unforgettable. You see, genuine kindness is rare, not the kind performed for attention, not the kind displayed for social approval, but genuine kindness, the kind that appears when there is absolutely nothing to gain. And that was exactly what the stranger witnessed that day. The conversation ended. The chosen one moved on. Life continued. Hours became days. Days became weeks, weeks became months, and eventually, the encounter faded into memory, or so it seemed, because while the chosen one forgot, the stranger didn't, not for a single day. In fact, he couldn't stop thinking about what happened. He had met thousands of people, powerful people, influential people, successful people. Yet there was something different about this, something that refused to leave his mind, and the more he thought about it, the more curious he became. Was that kindness genuine, or was it coincidence? Was that character authentic, or was it temporary? Was this someone truly different, or had he simply caught them on a good day? The answers mattered more than anyone could imagine, because the stranger wasn't who he appeared to be, not even close. And what the chosen one didn't know was that a decision had already been made. A quiet decision, a hidden decision, one that would eventually connect their future to someone far more powerful than they could possibly imagine. But that revelation was still hidden, still waiting, still unfolding behind the scenes. And if you've been wondering whether one act of kindness can truly change a person's destiny, you're about to discover the answer. Because the truth is, the stranger was already beginning to search for the chosen one, already beginning to learn more, already beginning to watch, not out of suspicion but out of fascination, and what he would discover over the coming months would convince him that this meeting was no accident. So before we continue, I want you to think carefully about this. Do you believe that some encounters happen for a reason, or do you believe everything is simply coincidence? Let me know in the comments, because what happens next will challenge everything you think you know about chance, destiny, and the hidden power of a single act of kindness. And trust me, chosen one, the biggest secret of all hasn't been revealed yet. Chosen one, there are moments in life when you think a story is over, but in reality that's exactly when it begins. Because while you moved on from that encounter, while you returned to your normal life, something very different was happening in the background. Something you were never supposed to see, something you were never told about, and something that has quietly been shaping your future without your knowledge. Now, let me ask you something important. Have you ever felt like your life changed slightly after meeting a stranger? Not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle way, like something shifted. But you can't explain what. Most people ignore that feeling, but sometimes that feeling is real. And this is where things begin to get strange. Because the man you helped that day was not ordinary at all. At first, even he didn't react like anything special had happened. He simply thanked you. He walked away and disappeared into the crowd like everyone else. But what looked like a normal moment was actually something far more important. Because the truth is, that man was observing you even while you were helping him. Not in a creepy way, not in a random way, but in a way that only someone with power, experience, and understanding of human nature would do. He wasn't just receiving help, he was studying you. Now think about that. When people have nothing to offer you, that is when their real character becomes visible. And what he saw in you was something he had almost forgotten existed. Genuine kindness, no hesitation, no calculation, no hidden agenda, just pure human compassion. And that confused him, because in his world, nothing is ever that simple. People usually help for something, recognition, money, influence, or future benefit. But you didn't, and that was the first thing he couldn't understand. So he did something unusual, something you would never expect. He didn't forget you. He remembered you clearly, precisely, and repeatedly. Days passed, then weeks, and Instead of letting the memory fade, it became stronger. Now let me ask you another question. Why would someone powerful care about a random act of kindness from a stranger? Think about that. Because this is where the story changes. Direction. The man you helped was not just someone. He was a billionaire who had built his entire life around reading people, understanding motives, detecting intentions, and filtering truth from fake behavior. And yet, you confused him because you didn't fit into any category he knew, so he began to investigate quietly, without anyone noticing. At first, it was simple curiosity. He asked one of his assistants to check if anyone had recorded the incident. Nothing. No media, no posts, no recognition, which made it even more interesting. Because real kindness, the billionaire didn't just see kindness, he saw something deeper, something he had lost in his own life, trust in human nature. And because of that, he made a decision, a silent decision, one that would eventually connect your path with his in a way you could never imagine, but he didn't act. Yet because powerful people don't rush, they confirm, they verify, they wait, and most importantly, they test not once but repeatedly. And somewhere in that hidden process, your life was already being placed into a system you had no idea existed. Now pause for a moment and think. Have you ever felt like life is quietly preparing something for you? Even when nothing is happening? Even when everything feels still? Because sometimes, silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. And in your case, chosen one, something has already started moving, even if you can't see it yet. Now here is your first real question for today. Do you think a powerful person would waste time watching someone ordinary for no reason? Type yes or no in the comments, and think carefully before you answer, because in part 3, you will finally discover what the billionaire discovered about you. Why he started testing your life without telling you, and the truth behind why this random encounter was never random at all. And chosen one, this is where everything begins to become real. Chosen one. If you've reached this part of the story, it means something inside you is still asking the same question. Was it really just a coincidence? Or was something bigger already written long before you understood it? Because what you are about to hear is not just the end of a story. It is the moment everything finally makes sense. Now listen carefully. The billionaire didn't just watch you. He didn't just remember you, and he definitely didn't treat your meeting as an ordinary encounter. What he did next was far more intentional. He started a quiet process. A process of truth verification. Because in his world, kindness is never accepted at face value. It is tested, measured, and observed under pressure, and that is exactly what began. But here's something you need to understand. First, you were never told about it, you were never informed, and you were never meant to. No, because the moment someone knows they are being tested, the truth disappears, so everything was designed to stay hidden. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever acted differently when you knew someone was watching you? Most people do, but the chosen one didn't know, and that made all the difference, because the first test didn't look like a test at all. It looked like life, a normal situation, a normal encounter, a normal moment, where someone needed help again, and just like before, you stopped, you helped, without hesitation, without asking why, without expecting anything in return, and somewhere far away, someone was watching that exact moment in silence. Now think about this carefully. One act of kindness can be coincidence. 2 acts of kindness can still be luck. But consistent behavior, that is identity, and identity cannot be faked forever. That was the first confirmation. But the billionaire didn't stop there, because he needed certainty, not assumption. So the second test came, and this one was different. This time, the situation was slightly more difficult, not impossible, but emotionally heavier. A moment where most people would think twice, where helping someone would cost more than just time, maybe dignity, maybe comfort, maybe convenience. And again, you didn't know you were being observed, but you still chose the same path. Compassion, respect, and silent generosity. And that is when the billionaire stopped questioning. Because at that moment, he realized something important. This wasn't behavior, this was nature. Now let me pause here and ask you something. If someone keeps doing the right thing even when there is nothing to gain, What does that say about them? Think about it. Because this is exactly what he was thinking. And now the final test came, the one that mattered most. This time, nothing dramatic happened, no crisis, no obvious situation. Just a subtle moment where your decision would reveal everything about your heart, and you passed. Again, without knowing, without trying, without performing. And that was enough. Because in that moment, the billionaire made his final decision. He didn't need more evidence, he didn't need more time, he didn't need more observation, he already knew what kind of person you were. Now, here's the truth you've been waiting for. The billionaire was not watching you out of curiosity anymore. He was watching you with intention. Because people like you are, rare, not perfect, but real, and in a world where almost everything is transactional, real people become extremely valuable. So he decided something. He decided that the kindness you showed would not be ignored, it would not be forgotten, and it would not remain unpaid. But here is the twist. The reward was never just money, it was never just recognition, and it was never something ordinary, because what he saw in you was bigger than that. He saw trustworthiness. He saw consistency. He saw character, under no pressure of reward. And that is something wealth cannot buy, so he arranged something quietly, not to impress you, not to shock you, but to reveal something that your small act had already created a chain reaction in someone's life far bigger than you imagined. Now the moment arrives. The truth is revealed. The stranger you helped was not just a billionaire. He was someone who had stopped trusting people long ago. Until that day. Until you. And because of you. Something inside him changed again. Not his wealth, not his status, but his belief in people, and that is why he remembered you. That is why he observed you. And that is why this entire story exists. Now here's the final question. If your kindness can change how one powerful person sees the world, then what else could it be changing in your life right now that you don't even realize? Think about that, because sometimes the biggest rewards are not immediate. They are delayed, but certain. Now, before this message ends, I want you to answer one final thing. Do you believe your kindness will come back to you in a way you cannot imagine yet? Type 777 if you believe it will. And if this message found you at the right time, then maybe you were never just helping a stranger, maybe you were being prepared for something greater all along. Because chosen one, nothing was ever random, and now everything is about to change.